Now we're live.
We're live?
Yep.
Okay.
Pass the phone around as you guys answer too.
What?
Pass the phone around as you guys answer. Yeah. Okay.
All around.
All right.
So our discussion today is about race, about being black, about social class, and there's 3 questions we're answering today. And we're answering these questions based on an article that we read called "On Being Black and Middle Class." And this article is 6 pages describing a black middle class woman, describing her kind of events or how she's experienced being a black middle class lady and what she's experienced from her own race and also from white people. And she just kind of recounts her experience as a black middle class woman and the struggle of the title. So the first question is to say about how race is connected to class. So what do you think, Jasmine?
She kind of discussed how race wasn't connected to class. But she said that a lot of people kind of assume that black people would be in a lower class because in history blacks used to have really low education. So they'd be in the poor class and the slaves or the lower class. They weren't even considered a class because they were slaves. But then as I don't know, some people growing on as she lived through the 60s, they became more educated and they allowed women to go to schools and they allowed black people to go to schools. There's lots of cases about people going to colleges and fighting for their rights. So they're getting better education. And so the author was saying how you really shouldn't assume someone's class based on their race. You should never know.
Yeah, I would say the same. The author argues that class and race are 2 separate things, and they shouldn't be connected, but they are. And I guess the author, she explains her experience how middle class values aren't tied into race. She says the ethics and values of middle class aren't race related. Anyone can have those ethics regardless of race, and they shouldn't be a factor in defining what middle class is. Race shouldn't be a factor in class. So she discusses how they shouldn't be related, but people just want to connect them for some reason. But it's mostly, at least for the black middle class, it seems negative for anyone that's not black middle class to be called that, to use that term. Yeah. Should we go on to the next question? Do you guys have anything to add?
Nope. Well, Ofa. Yeah, so the next question is, what difficulties are there with being both black and middle class? Really, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. What do I think? Okay, yeah, I think, well, yeah, so the difficulties of being both black and middle class is, so her problem is that black people, they just want to have the title of being black. They don't want to be put into in any kind of class, and they just want just the black race. They don't want black middle class, and the lower black middle class thinks that if you're a middle class black, then you're not truly black. So it makes it awkward for people in the black middle class who have worked their way there, they've sacrificed their way there, and that's what the author explains. And then the white people, they kind of criticize the black middle class for not bringing the black lower class with them or not helping them. So people in the black middle class are kind of stuck in a rut, or they're kind of in an awkward position. And that's what she's trying to argue about throughout her article, is how how difficult of an experience it is, but it shouldn't be that way, you know.
Yeah, there's this quote right here. It says, being both black and middle class becomes a double bind when class and race are defined in sharply antagonist terms, so that one must be repressed to appease the other. So yeah, they're kind of like in between, like they can't please anyone because they're like, I don't know, people just don't expect that, and if people would like make fun of blacks for being, not like make fun, but try to judge them for being in middle class, but then they'd also, I don't know, they didn't think that you were truly black if you're in the middle class. So there's just a quote from the story there.
Any addition, so we move on. Jasmine already answered it all. Okay, Ofa, continue on. Oh yeah, last question. What expectations whites and blacks have about black people? Give quotations from the text. Jasmine?
Hold on a sec.
Group video. Quotations do whites and or blacks. Okay, yeah, so I was talking about this question and my answer before to the last question. So, can you go back to it real quick? Sorry. Read it. So, as I was saying earlier,
Sorry, I'm back.
no, you're you're fine. We're just answering the third question. So
Okay.
I was answering this question in my previous answer to the previous question, but so whites, I guess whites and blacks, what do they expect about black people? So firstly, I would say that whites have had a negative view about them. Historically, you know, slavery and just a lot of negative things. They see them as lower class, and to see them break out of lower class is rare for them. There's a quote in the story about her experiences in college, different experiences where they went on a speech trip or something, her and some other white students, and she spoke of the uncomfortability about that. There's also other experiences she mentions in the story about, she mentions the story of Emmett Till. So in 1965, Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy that was murdered by a white mob for whistling at a white woman, and he was battered to death. And he talked about how the author talked about how this brought the black community together, but this kind of showed how what white people thought of blacks in the 60s. They treated them as second-class citizens, and they didn't expect them to succeed or thrive in society. So blacks, unfortunately, some of them have taken on that perspective or that view about themselves, and the lower class blacks, they don't support this black middle class. They think blacks are just one race, and they also they compared it to slavery again. They talked about how they were house slaves and they were field slaves. So house slaves didn't work on the fields, they didn't work on the cotton fields, and house slaves acted like white people, and they were seen as not being black. And then the field slaves hated the house slaves because the house slaves acted white and whatever. They rejected being black. So this black lower class has this idea of kind of bringing down the black middle class, because that's more of a black kind of, that's how to be black. I don't know. What do you think, Jasmine?
I thought it was interesting when she was talking about, I don't know if she was in elementary school, but she was talking about like this classmate that she had, and she felt like she kind of belonged in like that black school. And then she had like one or a couple white students in her class, and she pitied her white classmates who found more embarrassment than guidance in the fact of their race. So I just would hope that she would have elaborated more on that. Just because it was like how the tables were turned, how she pitied her white classmates, and when she thought the white classmates were pitying her. So it's interesting to think from their point of view, what that white classmate would have felt like. and it is talked about a lot about white society being upper class compared to the blacks, but that's just like a bunch of stereotypes, and very stereotypical. That was really interesting.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts? Final thoughts? Last question.
No, that's all. It's your testimony. No thoughts.
All good. Well, that's pretty much all the questions, and yeah, it's
All
just
right.
interesting. Yeah, thanks for the discussion, guys. Fun times
Yeah.
in English. Yep.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Fluent. Talking the whole time.